Hello guys, a little bit of a different video today. I've injured my knee in a freak yoga accident. Trying to be healthy, trying to stay young. It's bad for your health, just drink beer and eat crap. You feel much better, believe me. Anyway, onto this video. It's a bit different. I'm usually out and about trying new foods or investigating things that you maybe haven't seen before, but today I'm going to talk about building houses in Thailand, or if you've ever thought about building a house and you're not sure about it. This is like a general video of my experiences. If other people have got experiences they'd like to share in the comments below, this could help people who are thinking of doing the same thing. And I'll give you 10 things that I think maybe you should look at or avoid when you're building a house. So yeah, I built a house 16 years ago. Thailand was very different. It was a lot cheaper then. I mean, the exchange rate was, well, in comparison to now, it's not even at 40 baht to the pound. I was getting nearly 70 to the pound. And not only that, everything was cheaper generally anyway. Petrol was 13, 15 baht a litre. It was peanuts to build a house here, especially compared to the house prices in the UK. I just got married, just had a baby. Well, not me personally, but the wife. And yeah, I thought, yeah, I want to live here long term. So I spent a year looking for the land. I was pretty fussy. I wanted a mountain view and the right price close to the town, etc. That took over a year to find the land, and it took over a year to build the house. It was worth it, but it also took its toll on a relationship and finances, so hopefully these tips can help you. Okay, so let's start. So number one, you need to give this a lot of thought. Things have changed a lot in Thailand, as I said previously, not just in terms of how cheaper it used to be, but the visa situation now is completely cuckoo. It's all over the place. People don't really know what's happening from one day to the next. You've got, if you're British particularly, I think this applies to Australians as well, the currency exchange rate is so bad at the moment. Hopefully it will improve. The baht is strengthened. Be aware that you won't own the land. There are leaseholds there. I think you can own certain things with a company set up, but you won't own the land. Your relationship, do you see yourself, I mean obviously when you're first married and you're first with a girlfriend, everything's lovely. Do you see yourself being here 10, 15 years into the future? And also renting is so cheap here. Do you really need to build here? But it depends where you are. I mean, if you're in Chiang Mai and Bangkok, you've got loads of options. If you're living in the country, there aren't so many rental options. They're pretty limited, so that's why I chose a building route. So there's plenty to think about before you even start this venture. Okay. And number two, like with most projects or anything to do with money or business that can be stressful, try and stay away from family and friends. There's a lot of money involved usually when building a house here, and friends pop up from out of nowhere when they know you're going to build a house and will offer you this guy to do it, and they know somebody that can do it, or a family member will know somebody, and you're bombarded with people that can help you. And maybe some of them are really trying to help you, but a lot of the time they're getting a percent. And I've heard some horror stories of sister-in-laws running off with 500,000 baht, this poor guy, I remember, and he ended up living in a small shed, which, yeah, you don't want to go down that route, so stay away from family and friends. Okay, so number three, well, how do you get a builder? Yes, so you avoid the middlemen, as I said in point number two. But if you do have a friend that has had a house built that you trust, and they have a builder that you think is up to standards, fine, go with that. Other options that we did was actually driving around our town, looking at houses that were being built, chatting with the builders, chatting with the foremen, but more importantly chatting with the customers and seeing how they felt about the situation, the builder, the finish. And we did that for about 4 to 6 weeks. And one guy kept popping up. We investigated him further, and yeah, we decided this is the guy we want. We liked the way he, how he was with us. He was educated. He enjoyed designing, and we just had a good feeling about him. So you've got to do your homework a little bit on this, because you're going to spend quite a lot of time with the guy, and there's going to be a lot of money changing hands. So you need to find someone you get on with. So we found that was the best approach to finding a builder. Okay, so point number four is how you're going to approach the actual build. The guy we chose basically did everything from start to finish, including the design. He was really into designing, which was great, and I'm into designing, so I would draw designs and he'd come up with a plan, and we did it together. So in that respect, yes, he charged for being basically the project manager, I suppose. But he had a whole team of different builders, workers, electricians, renderers, the whole package. So we didn't have to worry about bringing in separate teams to do different parts of the house. So this is actually a bit more expensive, but you have to weigh up the hassle of bringing in separate teams to do the groundwork, to do the rendering, to do the electrics, the roof. You know, the system we chose, we just felt it was better organised, so the right arm would know what the left arm was doing, if that makes any sense. And yeah, so we chose that route. So when you're thinking of building, take that into consideration. Okay, so number 5 is actually about land. A lot of people use land that's either in their girlfriend or wife's family, but a lot of people don't. It took me 1 year to find the piece of land I wanted, but I made a mistake. I bought the land in the dry season, and there's a small huai, or a small stream, or irrigation ditch, I think it is. At the back, that was very small, I didn't even notice it. Come the rainy season, it was a raging torrent, and I just put soil down for the house, and it was basically washed away. The huai, or the small stream, burst its little banks and was just going across our land, and we couldn't actually get to our land. I was lucky that the rainy season was very heavy that year, so it warned me, right, okay, you need to do something, and it ended up having to put about £3,000 worth of soil down. So I basically raised the whole land by about 1.5 meters. Okay, so this is behind our land. This is a stream, or huai, that's been dug out. There is water in it now. We're just at the end of the rainy season, but when there's big rain, it can come right up here to the level of the wall here. And originally our land would have been over 2 meters below the level of the wall. So you can imagine it's a lot bigger now, the stream. When we initially bought the land, it was a tiny little thing. So it was a little bit overkill. I put over about 2.5 meters of soil down at the back to protect. And if we never have actually had a breach of water, but my theory was that if it did, the water would just run down the land slopes to the bottom corner. The house would be protected. That's on over 2 meters of soil. So yeah, if I'd done my homework before, I probably wouldn't have bought this land. But in you got no manners. In retrospect, yeah, it turned out pretty good. So the moral of that story is, if you buy land, check what it's like in the rainy season or throughout the year, because the weather here changes dramatically. You need to check the level, if it's on the slope, if you're on low-lying land, so you don't get caught out. Okay, number 6, try to learn the language. There's a lot of tensions. I could go on for days about this. There can be cultural clashes when money's involved and you need to get some communication through, and you're relying on your wife or your girlfriend and funneling your frustrations through them. It can get tense. Okay, so try to learn the language. The cultural differences here are very subtle. I was here for 2 years and I thought I knew everything, but I was here more as a tourist, and everyone was, oh, you handsome man, and everyone's lovely. But when it comes down to business and dealing with money, it can get frustrating. There's a lot of face saving going on. You can come in like a bull in a china shop when things have gone wrong, and you end up with egg on your face and looking like the bad guy, even if you're getting ripped off, and it can get really frustrating. So if you can learn the language to find out what's going on, you can hear the conversations, it will be a great help. Number 7, I mentioned this in the cultural difference about your relationship with your wife and girlfriend. Now, I touched on it in that point, but it's very important because it affected our relationship a lot. I didn't speak good Thai. There was a lot of money being spent. I was coming in quite angry in some situations when doors were put in the wrong place, or money was being wasted, or I felt people weren't listening to me. There was a lot of smiling going on, and a lot of tensions get brewed up, and it usually goes onto your wife who's doing the communicating, and particularly with my wife, doesn't like to create a fuss or a commotion. I put a lot of pressure on her. So be aware of your relationship. Make sure you're communicating together and understand each other's frustrations, and you will save not only money and have a more tense-free experience, you will help save your relationship because it gets pretty tense. Okay, so point number 8, pay in installments. I know this sounds quite basic, but people, I just hear guys that just give all their money to somebody to build the house and are surprised when suddenly the project is half finished and everyone's cleared off. I'm flabbergasted by some of the stories I've heard here, so I'm going to put it on here anyway. In terms of our builder, he gave us a price for the whole build, and we paid in sort of quarterly installments. When the shell was finished, we paid an installment, or we paid an initial installment, then another 3 or 4 months we paid another installment. So if there is an issue or there is a problem, you haven't thrown away all of your money. If you're building with separate teams coming in to build the shell, the footings, etc., then this isn't so much of an issue. You'll be paying as you go anyway. But pay in installments, yeah, it gives you more security that if there is a problem, you won't be cleaned out. So point number 9, climate. I mean, Thailand is obviously very hot. Where I am in Dak, it gets up to 44 in the hot season. So this needs to be thought about quite a lot. There are things you can do. You can get special bricks that keep the heat out. I don't know if they're insulated bricks or the reverse of insulation, it keeps the heat out. They'll be more expensive. You can get windows that keep the sunlight out or the heat from the sun out, which are also more expensive. You can put like a silver foil lining in your roof that also keeps the heat out. There are other options now, I think, available. That's what was around at the time. So you need to investigate this. I went down a different route. I sort of studied, well, not studied, but I checked out where the prevailing wind was coming from. And the main part of the house, which doesn't have aircon, which is pretty much all this area, I placed big windows pretty much all around it. So we pretty much get a nice cool breeze running through the main part of the house. And then the back end of the house is air-conned, the bedrooms, etc. So I did a little bit of homework, and you need to find out, obviously, if the sun is coming up, coming down, to help in your design of the house. Also the materials you use. Yeah, Thailand is very hot, as I say, and I love wood, and I used a lot of wood. There are pros and cons to this. I was very lucky. My builder he bought a lot of old 100-year plus teak homes, so the wood had already been weathered. If you buy a cheaper young wood, they will crack. The extremes in temperature here makes wood bend, warp and crack if it hasn't been treated properly. I bought the front doors, had a nice pretty pattern, and I went down the younger wood option, and yes, within 6 to 8 months there were cracks all over the door. So you need to take that into consideration. If I could have built this house again, I would have used more granite. I think it's cooler, it's easy to clean, it's damage proof, especially with young kids. If you've got a nice wooden floor, you're constantly paranoid about scratches, dents, and it's just less to worry about. So the materials you use, think how practical they are, think about the climate. Yeah, place trees not too close to the house, but place trees where the sun is going to be at the hottest. Yes, they take a while to grow, but you can bring in trees that are pretty big, and within a few years they will cool that area of the house or prevent the sun coming in. So yes, climate and the materials you want to use in your house need to be thought about. Okay, so number 10 is actually enjoy the process. I know I've been a little bit pessimistic at times, but it's only because I've experienced it without having any guidance that I'm hopefully telling you things that can help you avoid any of the problems that I encountered. Because there are times when your dream or your dream home is being built and it comes to fruition, and yeah, it feels really good. And I had some good times with the builders. I drank too much Lau Khao, which is the rice wine, and other things actually. But yeah, it can get stressful. So there was quite a lot of drinking going on. I still had a good time with the guys who were building here, and I still see them around and say hello. Yeah, the things I was saying about stressing out usually was happening when we were buying the land. We had problems with the land, which I might discuss a little bit later. So try and enjoy the process, but if you can get the groundwork done, as in get all your thought process sorted, be prepared for some maybe, you know, rocky moments, then it should be a fun experience. So yes, try to enjoy it. Right, so I've dug out the plan that my builder actually gave me for the house. I mean, if you're doing a simple build, just doing a plan yourself might suffice, or you can hire an architect. As I say, with our builder, he was able to do the plans. I think we've got the foundation layout here. He's telling us the depth, the footings should go. So he was pretty thorough. We've got the roof design. I think this is for the wire, for the posts. I don't actually understand it. I didn't actually understand. I mean, I was more involved in the design and trusted him to find the right materials and build a strong house for me. So this all relates to having trust in your builder. These are for the bathrooms. This is for the sewage waste disposal. I don't actually know how it works. It's basically tanks put in the ground and it filters through to the soil or something like that. I should have found out more, but I just trusted him to do it. But to be honest with you, I haven't smelt anything, I haven't emptied anything for 16 years, and I eat a lot of fibre, so you know, it just seems to work. So I think I will have a little discussion about the problems I had with buying land. The initial land we bought actually was where the house is built, wasn't an issue, but I'll just show you here. Okay, so this used to be one plot, and we bought this plot. The reason being, it was a married couple who had a divorce, so the assets were split down the middle, and the wife ended up with this plot and the husband with this plot. So we initially bought this plot, and I was super happy, lovely view. The little Huai stream at the back was just a little thing, wasn't going to do anything, which I later found out wasn't quite the case. Okay, so I should explain the reason why I wanted this piece so much is that the mountains were here, okay, and we were building our house here, so I had a beautiful view of the mountains. Now, if someone had bought this plot and built a house here, of course, I would have my view destroyed. So this is why I was so happy that this land was going to be sold to me at such a good price. We bought this on the Thursday, and on the Friday we were supposed to purchase this from the wife for 100,000, which was incredibly cheap. But the little Huai at the back would actually run through this as well. There was a little tributary or whatever you want to call it, and this used to flood a little bit, so it was basically sort of worthless land really. But the next day we had a group of 6 women turn up at our house, looking quite somber, and they'd been to the land office and they'd been told that this land is worth 600,000 now, and apparently our lovely lady at the land agency had brought the owner of this land, and she was saying she would like to build a pig farm, but if we buy it from her, then yeah, it won't be a problem, blah blah blah, which I just burst out laughing. And it turned out that it wasn't actually the owner, it was just a group of her friends who were trying to squeeze me out of $500,000 baht. It's important to say that the land agency was really just a husband and wife team. The wife owned a beauty shop and had friends in the land office, or friends in high places I should say, and she was actually very nice to us. She took us to maybe 30 plots of land over the period of a year, and was very, very patient. But it wasn't the same as looking for land back in the UK. There weren't estate agents here, there was no online service back then, so it really was like the Wild West. Yeah, it surprised me when she came in with the group of women, I have to say. But yeah, I didn't fall for it, thank goodness. We did actually end up buying this about 3 or 4 years later, this plot, from the owner, the actual owner, which turned out to be more of a nightmare than actually the initial attempted purchase. But anyway, that's another story. Just to reiterate that you should just check everything. Land posts, if you can see here, the land posts are drawn and checked by the land office, and I suggest that you hire the land office to come out. It costs about £100, £200 to double check that your land posts are in the correct place, because they can get moved either on purpose or by accident when soil or land is being cleared. So that's just some advice for anybody wishing to purchase land. Okay, so that's it for today. I'm sure if you haven't built a house, or you don't know anybody that's building a house in Thailand, you would have probably turned off this video within the first minute. It's not very interesting for people that aren't involved in this sort of scene, so I apologise if this isn't your cup of tea. I hope it was useful to some people out there who are thinking of doing something similar to me. Hopefully my knee will get better. I'm going to start drinking beer again tomorrow. I'm eating crap from 7-Eleven, so hopefully I'll be on the mend soon, and I will see you in the next video.